Hello, today I thought I'd show you a little project that I've been up to this weekend. I've had watercolour paints for a few years now, but only really got into it over the last year. I've bought various travel palettes and just filled them however I fancied at the time. But this weekend I decided I'd like to put all of my half pans in one place. In the past I kept my tube paints in these blue Magello palettes, and then any half pans I bought just ended up in different travel palettes. But I realised some palettes I just don't pull out as much as others, and so the paints in them are sort of getting forgotten about. So here you can see that I've started taking out the half pans, and any of my tube paints which were only in the Magello blue palettes, or squeezed into palettes that aren't a half pan format, I've been squeezing into new half pans. So this is the middle of that process. This is a bit later on when I've emptied all of my palettes except for these few non-professional watercolour paints here. And then I've got a couple of duplicates which I'll wrap up and save for later. But then the rest are all now in one place. I recently put all my Roman Szmal full pans into one old pencil tin, and then I did the same for my Rosa Gallery paints. I was hoping that I could do the same with my half pans in one of Derwent's largest pencil tins, but they didn't all fit into one, so I decided to split them across two pencil tins. I also topped up all the half pans which have been filled from tubes, and I've put them in the same colour order as I've got in my big swatch folder, which I'll link to down below if you're interested in seeing that. So obviously I've got far more paint than anyone needs. As I've said in the past, collecting paints is definitely a separate hobby from using them. But I absolutely love having them, and I'm so excited to see them all in one place. I won't keep them like this forever. I know I'm going to want to have smaller travel palettes again, and actually I have got my portable painter micro still, and one palette that I just keep in the car. But I think it's going to be a really interesting exercise over the next couple of months to see which colours really are my favourites when they're all on a level playing field of ease of accessibility. I quite like having space around half pans so that the paints don't contaminate each other too much. So here I am now using a hot glue gun just to put a tiny dot on the bottom of each half pan, and I'm spacing them out a bit in my first Derwent pencil tin. I checked that the pans are easy enough to get out again when you want them. I just used a dinner knife to kind of flick them out. There's quite a bit of repetitive footage in this video. I've kept it in though, just in case anyone enjoys it, but I've sped it up. If you've seen many of my previous videos, you'll know that I like a good swatch sheet, so that I can quickly get to exactly the right colour. My watercolour paper was shorter than the width of the tin, so I sellotaped two pieces together, trimmed it down, and then rounded the corners off just by hand. I did a block of black Sharpie just so that you can see the opacity of the white paints. I then thoroughly enjoyed swatching out all the paints. I show you the names for each of the paints towards the end of the video. Here are all my empty palettes, all cleaned up, looking nice again. I'll hang on to them and no doubt use them again when I've got a clearer idea of what I want my palettes to be like going forwards. And here's my portable painter micro. It's got duplicate colours in from my main palette. I'll link to a video below where I put that together. I think they just look so nice all together like this. Next up, I want to spray paint the tin lids. It's a horrible rainy day today, so I've opened the patio windows and put an old duvet cover down on the table. I'm using this spray enamel paint. Again, I'll link to it down below. I've just done a first coat here. And here's me looking terribly glamorous. Here are my finished tins now that the lids have dried, and I've added little sticky labels to them. And I absolutely love them. I think they turned out nicely. So I haven't spray painted the bottom halves yet. I'd bought some white spray paint in case I wanted to do that, but I actually quite like the teal and the turquoise together. I've labelled the large tins 1 and 2, just so that I'll know what order the paint's run in. To show you the finish isn't perfect. I got a couple of bits of dust stuck in and then used tweezers to pull them out. But it's not too bad. And then with the colour chart, I covered it in sticky back plastic and used a tape runner to stick it inside the lid. I'll show you the paint names up close, just in case you're interested. And then with the second tin, because that's not completely full, I've swatched out the colours. I just covered up to, I think you can see, I just put sticky back plastic up to the line. And then if I want to fill more in at a later date, I can. So obviously I'm going to need a bit of space when I want to paint in the next little while. But I think it's going to be an interesting exercise having all my paints in front of me and seeing which ones get used more than others when they're all in an equally accessible palette. Yeah, I'm quite excited to do this experiment over the next few weeks, or I guess until I get fed up with it and decide that I want to put some smaller palettes together again. And as I said before, I've still got my portable painter micro and another little one that I keep in the car for going out and about. I hope you enjoyed seeing this process anyway. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye!